Health and Wellness Pillars webinar on measurement and reporting. We're delighted to have you all on board, and thank you in advance for your time and all of your efforts to help us report as one global industry on everything we're trying to achieve in health and wellness. So you'll notice on the webinar that you were all on mute except for today's speakers, and we have done this just to ensure we can all hear each other correctly as we go through the webinar, but please be assured that we will have plenty of time to take your questions at the end of the webinar, and we'll actually go live to our measurement and reporting exercise at the end of today's webinar, and we can really take Q&A as we go along. So I wanted to really ensure that you do take this opportunity while we're here together today to ask those questions, any issues or challenges that you have in the reporting exercise, any questions that you have about where we're going, what the next steps are. You have experts on today's webinar who can really help you. You have three ways you can ask questions. You have a control panel at the right-hand side of your screen where there is a little question box where you can type questions directly to me or to the full group on today's webinar, and we will answer those at the end of the presentation. You can also please send me an email directly to s.bligh@theconsumergoodsforum.com, and I will get your questions at the end of the webinar. And we will also unmute all of the telephone lines so that everybody has the possibility to talk at the end of today's webinar. So I'll kick off with introducing today's speakers. I am Sharon Bligh, and I lead the health and wellness strategy here at the Consumer Goods Forum. And I work in collaboration with two experts, Petra from Nestle and Harmjan from Ahold, who are here with us and are two great people who are really leading and driving everything we're doing to show our progress as an industry in measurement and reporting. And we also work with a great team from Deloitte who are supporting us all along towards this process. When we started out, it's almost 3 years ago now, and we have Blake and Daniel on today's call. And Blake and Daniel are the experts who are looking after your data and who will be with us to answer any questions that you may have today. So what are we going to cover on today's agenda? We wanted to really set the scene again and just why this is so important for us to measure and report publicly on our efforts in health and wellness. A very quick look at the insights that we learned from the 2015 progress report, which was published this year in March. We wanted to let you know what's new, so you know that behind the scenes there is a group of experts, a working group on measurement and reporting, who have looked at all of the feedback that all of our member companies shared with us, what worked, what didn't work, and we'll give you an idea what we have changed in this year's measurement and reporting exercise. A real call for action for the need for your engagement if you're on today's webinar. I hope that means that you are engaged and you will participate, but we're really looking to increase the number of member companies who are participating in this measurement and reporting exercise, so we really appreciate your time and your efforts. Then the main part of the webinar was to really look at our members' experiences. So Petra and Harmjan, who are reporting on behalf of their companies on their health and wellness goals, will give us some insights into why it is important to their companies, to them, and to the people who work for their companies. We're going to walk through the survey itself, so we'll have the possibility to go to the online tool and hear any questions that you may have. And we also, I know we have a number of other members on today's call. We have Erica from Cencosud. Erica, we would love to have your views on, you have submitted the survey, and your views and insights on what was of interest that you would like to share with today's group. And again, as I mentioned, ample time for Q&A at the end of the webinar, and you can see here on the screen my email address, s.bligh@theconsumergoodsforum.com, so don't hesitate to send me any of your questions by email. So if we look at why this is important, we started this measurement and reporting exercise 3 years ago with a pilot among the 50 board member companies. Last year was the first time we reached out to the entire membership of the Consumer Goods Forum. We were delighted that we had 63 of our member companies who reported, and we published that report this year in March. And this is really something that gives us, the Consumer Goods Forum, the possibility to show the progress of all of the implementation that is happening in your companies. And we want to use this measurement and reporting exercise to engage, to inspire, and to activate implementation of the health and wellness resolutions and commitments among the entire membership. This is something that our CEO board co-sponsors have really committed to do this measurement on an annual basis and to really share this report publicly. And we do this with a number of stakeholders that we have mapped out in our stakeholder engagement roadmap. And it's really, really a very important tool for the Consumer Goods Forum to engage with those external stakeholders who are very interested to see what we're doing as an industry and what direction we're progressing in. So it really is a report that we use to build and engage and create momentum among the CGF members, but also this is an important industry-wide tool, and it really is the only one of its kind. And it's one of the reasons why we really, really need your data to help us to speak as the voice of the industry at the Consumer Goods Forum, and it's one of the only global reports with retailers and manufacturers, food, personal care and hygiene. So I really applaud all of you for providing your data and helping us to do this. So I'll hand you over to Petra from Nestle, who is just going to give us a quick update on what we learned from our progress in last year's report. Petra.
Thank you very much, Sharon, and I'm very pleased to have you all here on the webinar. What you can see in the two graphics on this slide is actually the progress that we have been making against our resolutions and newly against the commitments. The 2015 report, as you can see, already shows that a lot of the respondents, they have established the policies and they activate the programs that actually measure against the resolutions. And for the first time in 2015, we also asked for commitments. That was actually already a great achievement, and it was an improvement, and we are very well on its way, but we still need to do a lot more on this. And the program that we first shared here, we actually want to progressively continue on, because as you know, the first commitments will be due by 2016. So we will make sure that we actually make sure that we get a very narrow measure and understanding of this. So this progress is good, but it's not good enough, and we hope to engage you further and more people, and we have done quite a lot on the reporting system. If we going to the next slide, I'm just sharing with you what is actually new. So we have, thanks to Deloitte, very much simplified the reporting. The interface is much, much easier and user-friendly, so it allows you, if you just want to have time to enter minimum of information, it will actually be extremely fast. We have re-engineered it also to make it in a structure so that you can topic-wise just complete one topic and then move to the next. The first time also the CGF has created Chinese and Japanese versions to overcome some language barriers. There will be more versions to come, and if you require probably some assistance in understanding language, I'm sure that Sharon will be helping you to make sure that this is not a barrier to complete the document. We actually aim for doubling participation, and we come back to the figures in a moment. We also want to better understand how we progress, of course, on the commitments. As said, we just put in a few questions in the last year's result, and we will have more this year, and it's very important that this is actually being completed so that we have transparency and understanding on what the progress looks like against these commitments. The other very important thing is that we will take this as a starting point to create a very positive global story on health and wellness, making actually industry understood as being part of the solution, being sitting at the table and helping to drive the agenda. So that are very important improvements that we have made. So I want to move on in the engagement. We had, as Sharon said, 63, excuse me, it's a bit better than I thought, 63 member companies that engaged last time in completing this. So a big thank you to all the companies that made the effort and that helped us already to show the progress, as you have seen in my earlier slides. And it's great progress also in galvanizing additional energy to our reporting mechanisms. However, as said, we really aim at minimum doubling the number of companies, because the potential, if we go to the next slide, is much bigger. If you look just at this number of companies, we have around 400 members that actually can contribute at any given level. If you have just a section of this to be appropriate for you, then this is not a limitation to still complete the survey. If you see this actually also from what we can communicate to the world, we will represent 70 countries if all members actually would complete the survey, which is huge, and I think this is something which probably can be already a very representative sample for a global scale. If you look at the impact that these companies can create, they altogether assemble something like 2.5 trillion euros combined sales. So there is massive financial power behind this as well. This is a big engine. And also to the connection with the people in health and wellness, the companies in this CGF together accounts for almost or more than 100 million people that are employed along the value chain. Hence, if we can reach out to those already, this is already a massive contribution in itself. So Sharon, with this, I let you move on.
Great, thank you, Petra. So what we wanted to do now, we have 3 experts on today's webinar. Petra yourself, Harm-Jan from Ahold, and Erika from Cencosud. And you are all completing or have completed the survey. And Harm-Jan, can we kick off with you, if you could give us your experience of, before we look at the tool itself, if you could give us your experience and what you have learned from taking part in this year's measurement and reporting.
Yes, Sharon, thank you for giving the opportunity. And I think when we started in the first group of the survey. And one of the first things we thought is, why should we include a survey on this topic? And when we sat down with a group of people within Ahold to decide on that, we found out that health is, and was by then, but it's still an increasingly important topic, and it's not only for Ahold as a company, but also for our customers and our stakeholders. So what we already did in our strategy, we decided to make health one of our priority areas. And I believe it's not only an important area for our company as Ahold, but also it's an important topic for our industry, because we are all in the food industry. We are manufacturing or preparing products. We are selling products to customers, to people that live in our world, and they are getting much more interest in health as well. So to come back to that, we thought it's not only important to tell the voice of Ahold or to tell the story of Ahold, but it's also important to tell the story of the industry. And that is also one of the main drivers for us to join the Consumer Goods Forum, to work as an industry, and also to participate in this survey. And when the CGF set the resolutions and the commitments, we believe it also comes to life when you really start reporting on these topics. So you can set some commitments. You can say, we are going to deliver this or this target by the end of 2018 or 2019. But if you do nothing, or if you share nothing to your stakeholders, then you lose credibility, and then it doesn't help you in the future as well. So we believe it's important that we reply to the survey, and also that other companies reply to the survey to show the industry, or to show our stakeholders, that our industry is moving and that we take this topic serious. So what we did is, one of the first things was to create awareness on this topic and on this survey within our own company, because we found out that a lot of people who work with the data that was requested are working in operations. Some of them had never heard about the Consumer Goods Forum, which is not that strange with a company of over 200,000 people working there. So we identified owners, we looked at the questions, and we said, who is able to answer the questions the survey is asking us? And as a second step, we looked carefully at our annual sustainability report. So we made an analysis of which information we are already requesting, and what is the information we are needing besides this report. We went to the people, we talked to them, and we got the data, and we filled in the first survey. But when we had completed the first year survey, we were also thinking this information is not only relevant for stakeholders, it's relevant for ours. We want to use this as more KPIs to steer on it. So we looked at our sustainability report again, and we decided to put the majority of the data, we didn't all of them, but the majority of the data, to also let it go through our reporting systems we are using currently to get the data for our annual report. And by doing that, we found out that there are many advantages combined to that. So first of all, our colleagues are familiar with the topics and data we request. The second advantage is that the data is reported via strict process and set processes, so everyone knows what to do and when to report. We have a quarterly reporting process for that. Number three is that the data is verified by our external accountant, so we get assurance on it. So it's much easier to go public with this data and to share it with other people, because an external party looked at it. And four, perhaps the most biggest advantage for our colleagues as well in the companies or in the business we operate, is we didn't need to ask the same people for the same data twice or 3 times a year. So now the survey is part of our input for our annual sustainability report. People are aware of what they are requested to do, and it's going via the set reporting lines, and that really helps us to work on the survey and to complete the survey. And I can say that the tool we are using now is very easy as well. I think it's already mentioned before, but it's really an easy tool to use. And the last thing I would like to say, to hand it over to the next speaker, is that the survey supports me as a responsible retailing project manager also in telling our story and telling the story of us as a responsible retailer and a story around health. So we are very happy with the survey. We had some difficulties at the start, but now when we have really a good process in place, it really helps us and gets us further, and also for the industry.
Thank you very much, Harm-Jan. That was a great insight and feedback from how Ahold is using this survey. Petra, would you give us your insights from your experience at Nestle?
Yeah, just in short terms, I mean, yes, we have, of course, probably all companies, we have embedded health and wellness in our companies. Otherwise, I think, we wouldn't be part of the CGF to start with, and we would not be part of this health and wellness pillar. So that's a given, and that we measure also is becoming probably a reality also, I would suppose, for every company, and it is for us also for several years. So we have been, of course, identifying our own KPIs. We all have our CSR, or how we call it, creating shared value reports, in which we report this on an annual level. However, why do we then need additionally CGF? Because I think, again, it aggregates that there is not only single company, but there is something which is collectively tackled by an industry, and that we are serious. year after year after year, we're building actually a stronger case that this is something that we are serious about and that we don't stop doing, but we grow and we build. And internally at Nestle, it's extremely important for us because actually we can, with these measurement efforts and the reporting, so communicating, we can empower our people actually to manage and drive the progress. It's a motor that actually drives us to even further say, okay, let's push against these. So we need to invest behind it. We need to make it happen. And that's actually one of the motors that helps and empowers people to deliver against the targets that the company has set and that we set as a whole industry. Additionally, I think it's also a very rewarding activity because the efforts are becoming visible. And as we continue to do it annually, they are valued by external stakeholders. As we actually do not do this as a one-time off, we continue, we build, and hence I think it will create trust and credibility. And in the company, people, they feel that this is actually adding value because this is used for the external stakeholders, and hence it actually opens up a new opportunity for our business to continue to grow.
Thank you, Petra. I believe we have Erica from Cencosud on the webinar as well. Erica, if you wanted to give us your thoughts on taking part in the Health and Wellness Survey this year. Erica, can you hear me? Yes, Erica, did you want to give us your thoughts on taking part in the survey?
Okay, perfect. Listo. No,
we can't hear you very well, Erica. Okay, let me see, Erica, if you can try to see if we can hear you. What I will do is while we're looking to see with the sound with Erica, I will just give you an update on where we are today. So you can see here on your screen, and you know what we have 12 companies who have fully completed the Health and Wellness Survey. We have a number of companies, there's a lot of our members who are actually in the process of completing the Health and Wellness Survey. We still have until the 30th of October to finalize the survey itself. So there's a lot of companies who have who've opened and who have started and who are working on completing it. And we have set ourselves a high participation target. This year we're really looking to double participation from last year. So I encourage all of you to take part in the Health and Wellness Survey, and we have 12 companies here who have shown their leadership. They're the first ones in, and we have at the moment a majority of retailers, followed by food and beverage manufacturers, personal care, and companies who are both food and personal care manufacturers. And this year what's new is we opened up the survey to our service provider members of the Consumer Goods Forum. So now all members of the Consumer Goods Forum can report on what they're doing, for example, in employee health and wellness. And you'll see that there's a lot of activity on the survey tool, and that we're really hoping that this will continue until the 30th of October. So Erica, if you can hear us or you can speak, just let me know at any time, and I can hand the floor over to you. What I propose now is that we go into the tool itself, and we have Blake and Daniel from Deloitte who are on the phone with us and are here to support us as we go into the measurement tool itself. So we'll just open up the tool which you will all have seen, and go through some of the important points that we wanted to bring to your attention today, and a quick walkthrough, for example, one resolution, and take any of the questions that you have. And I wanted to say a number of members have asked me to see the survey, the complete survey, and we have a Word version of the survey. So if any of you are interested or you would like me to send that to you, please do let me know. We have Word copies in English, Japanese, and Chinese, which I'd be very happy to share with everyone. So you can see here on the screen in front of you the survey tool itself. As Petra had mentioned, we have made a number of modifications to really simplify, and we re-engineered the survey this year, and because we really want to build participation and critical mass in terms of the numbers of members reporting. So the first page of the survey itself gives an outline of the health and wellness resolutions, also the commitments that we adopted last year, and you'll see here that we have explained the approach behind our questionnaire. One area which has been very important for both Deloitte and ourselves is the non-disclosure declaration, and this is really something that we really want to respect, and that your data is confidential, and this is why we ask you to reply yes to the non-disclosure declaration that Deloitte and the Consumer Goods Forum will sign and will share with you at the end of the survey. And this is really to say that everything that you have shared with us or will share with us in terms of data remains absolutely confidential. We are reporting as an industry. All data will be aggregated. So this is a step we have put in place to really ensure confidentiality of your data.
Sharon, this is very... Sorry.
Great. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you wanted me to take over, but maybe we could just go back to the intro screen. There was just a couple of things that I wanted to point out as useful reference tools for people that are responding to the survey. One, of course, you've got the link to Sharon's email address. So we have Word versions, as Sharon mentioned. If you'd like to see it in that form before you tackle actually using the tool to respond to the survey, that's a very easy request to fulfill. The other important thing, you see the deadline, Friday, October 30th, and we're really trying to respect that deadline this year. I know in past years we've had an opportunity to extend it a little bit longer because we started this process in the summer, but we need to get the analysis complete in order to report back to the CGF board in early December. So we're really asking everyone to try to meet that Friday, October 30th deadline. If you feel like there's some issues, for some reason, please let us know ahead of time so we can try to manage that. The other thing I wanted to point out, you see the resolutions and commitments are explained here, but there's also a link to CGF's Health and Wellness websites that has additional information if you need additional background. So you can get there directly from the survey tool itself. And then finally, on the questionnaire approach, just wanted to point out that there's 3 dimensions: programs, policies, and outcomes. We don't expect that every company that's starting this process is going to have the data available to report on KPIs perhaps the first year. And so what we've done is structured the survey so that you can respond so that it kind of follows the development of your reporting capability. And so we have some questions about just initiatives that you've taken that are related to the health and wellness resolutions. Those are very general questions. I think everybody should be able to at least answer whether or not they've had an opportunity to engage on some of the initiatives and how they link to the resolutions and commitments. Policies is another step. Do you have some formal statement, position, objective, publicly reported, or perhaps internal in place that manages your activities with respect to the health and wellness resolutions and commitments? And so that's kind of another step. We expect there'll be more companies that are further along in the process will have put those policies in place. And then outcomes, finally, that's the KPIs. Those are the measurements of, how effective has your program been, how widespread is it within your organization. Some of the more mature reporting companies like Nestle and Ahold already have that data. They're, as Ahold was explaining, they've moved it into other reporting venues like their CR report. We don't expect everyone will have that information in their very first year, but that shouldn't discourage you from responding, because there is a lot of information that you can provide and that we think is very valuable, short of actually having those measured KPIs. And so that's the way we've structured it. And you'll see as we look at the survey itself that your answers will trigger follow-on questions, but if you, for example, if it's a resolution that's not applicable to your company, you won't be asked a series of follow-on questions. It'll skip right to the next section. So Sharon, if you want to move forward. Sharon mentioned the NDA already. And again, just let me reiterate, no company-specific data will be reported. Everything will be aggregated. So we want, this NDA kind of goes through that, and we want to make sure you understand that we're not going to be taking company information and reporting out. It'll be aggregated and reported back as an industry group in terms of the progress. And you can link to the NDA at the beginning of the survey as you're starting, so you have an understanding of what it says, and then at the end of the survey you'll be asked to agree to it in order to submit your data. You'll see this is the front end where we collect some basic information, and one thing to note is you'll see a red star next to some of the questions. Those were questions we require responses to, and so if you don't respond to one of the questions that has a red star, you won't be able to move forward in the survey. But not all the questions, as I mentioned before, some of them are allow you to move forward without responding. Only those with the red star are required. So in this case, Sharon, if you can just put in some placeholder information while Sharon's doing that, you can see that there's a link in the survey to the guidance document. And so for each section, we develop some guidance. If you need some additional information on how to respond to a question, you just click on the guidance document, and that'll help walk you through the process. Okay, so given the different companies or organizations within CGF will have different types of questions that are relevant for their organization, we've developed 5 different pathways: retailers, food and beverage manufacturers, personal care manufacturers, companies that do both, and then service providers. And depending how you respond here, it kind of adapts the survey to your type of organization. And so this is a required question, so just indicate what type of organization you are. This is the reporting period. What we would really prefer is to have 1 year worth of data. And so for the KPIs in particular, we're hoping to see a 1 year's worth so we can kind of build a story over time and understand how progress is being made. If you have a different reporting structure, please go ahead and enter it. We want to understand what data or what the time period is for the reporting. The next question is around the regions in which you're operating. And so we understand that in some cases global companies will only be reporting on data for some of their operations. In some cases a company is only in one region globally, and this will allow us to do some regional analysis to the extent possible. We won't be able to do that on all the data, but in some cases we might be able to draw some conclusions by what we're seeing from regional companies and versus global companies and vice versa. The next question is around understanding what percentage of your company's operations are represented by the data that you've reported, by the information that you've reported. So the first one is, what we expect to be publicly available information, your total revenue and the number of total employees that you're reporting as part of your annual financial disclosures. But then we understand that maybe you only have health and wellness information for some of your operations. In that case, it doesn't need to be exact, but provide us a percentage of your company's revenue and employees that are covered by the information that you reported. We're hoping that that's 100% for everybody, but we recognize that that's probably not the case for all companies. So this gives you an opportunity to indicate what percentage of your operations are being covered. And then we just need to know the currency so we can normalize everything when we aggregate the data. And so this is the first resolution. And again, it provides you the overarching resolution, the sub-resolutions that are relevant. So when we're asking about programs, what we're really asking is, do you have a program that touches on either the overall resolutions or even just one of the individual sub-resolutions that sits under that? And again, those resolutions were written for both food and beverage manufacturers and personal care and hygiene manufacturers and retailers. And so there should be something in there that potentially is relevant for all your companies, other than perhaps service providers. But you then have an opportunity, again, to answer yes, no, and depending on your answer, you'll have a series of follow-on questions. So prior to answering, you'll see it go straight to the commitment. Once you've answered yes, we have a program, then there's some follow-on questions that are specific to that program. Do you have a target? If you then answer yes, you have a target, you have some follow-on questions that discuss, are they qualitative, are they quantitative, have you made them public? You respond there, and then you move to the next section. That's the program section, and then it goes on to policies. Do you have a policy that governs those sub-resolutions? And this is another required question. And in this case, it's yes, so we then want to understand, is that information public? And then if it is public, where have you responded? But if you answer no to any of these, you won't obviously get the follow-on questions. And then before we move on to the KPIs, we have a question that's specific to the commitments. So in this case, the commitment is around making policies public on nutrition and product formulation. So it asks directly, so we can measure directly how many companies have implemented that policy and how many companies are on track to have publicly communicated by 2016. And so, for example, in this case, if you do answer yes, then you'll be asked to provide a link to that public information so that we can corroborate that the information and the percentage of companies that have fulfilled the commitment is complete. So that completes the commitment question. And then finally, there's a KPI for this resolution. The number of products offered in the reporting year that have been formulated or reformulated to align with the company's nutrition policies. And so in this case, if this is the number of products that are out there in the marketplace, you put that in, and then we want to understand what percentage that is of your overall portfolio. So the follow-on question is a range, in quintiles on the number of products that represents, and then just so we understand, is this based on the products offered or the sales revenue that's generated by those products? So you get that follow-on question, so we can understand exactly what that percentage represents. And that finishes off the KPI questions for that resolution. And then finally, for each of the sections, there's an opportunity for you to tell more of your story. So this is a text box. You can put in links, anything that you want us to know about initiatives, programs, new ideas, innovation that touches on the areas covered in Resolution 1. This is where you would provide that information. And then this can help us understand more of what's going on in the industry. It can provide some context that we can use when we're writing the report. And then that completes off that section, basically. And if you click next, you'll see you would then move on to the next resolution. And again, you go through that same process. It turns out for Resolution 2, there's 2 commitments here that you have to cover off on, but it's that same process. The only other, I think, important piece functionality that I wanted to mention is at the top. You can see Save and Continue Later. At any point when you need to stop and move on to something else, you click on that link, put in your email address, and the survey will send you a unique link that you can just click on when you're ready to return to the survey. It'll return you to the beginning of the survey, your answers will still be complete. You just need to click next through to get to where you started or where you want to start again. A couple of other things to mention: when you do get to the end, and you are required to agree to the NDA before you can submit the information. So if you have a problem with any of the with the NDA or any of the questions, please reach out to us and we can get that completed. And so Sharon's just clicking through. You can see in other cases, if you respond no, we will have some follow-up questions on why you haven't started or why you're having problems implementing a policy or fulfilling the commitments. So there are follow-ons for yeses, but there's also follow-ons for no's. And then finally, before you complete the survey, there are opportunities to engage with the CGF's health and wellness pillar on, I guess it's 5 different work streams. And so if you're interested in being more involved and helping out with the implementation of the resolutions and commitments, here's an opportunity to let Sharon and CGF know that you're interested and you'd like to become more engaged. And then finally, you can see we get to that NDA agreement, and so if you click yes there, you can at that point submit your information. The system will generate a PDF of your response once you've submitted, and we'll send it both to you and to Sharon. And so if after you submitted, you take a look at the PDF and you realize, well, I've got an issue with one of the questions, I didn't answer it the way I thought I had, please reach out to us and we can reopen the survey and let you make any corrections that you need to make.
Great. Thank you so much, Blake, for taking us through. We just went through one resolution, and what I propose now is that we open the lines and I unmute everyone on today's webinar, and I'd like to give everyone the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. Just a reminder, the deadline is the 30th of October, and if you do have questions, please do use this opportunity to connect with us. You can also send questions to me by email or via the chat box. So I will open up the lines, and I have received a question by email, actually, which I can share now. It's for you, Petra. Actually, it is a question on the future of measurement and reporting, and how do you want to use this report in the future?
Thank you. That's a very important and great question. I think as we are growing the member numbers that are completing, we are building an ever stronger case. We will use this report, of course, to measure against our progress in the resolutions that we have set and against the more targeted commitments, and then, of course, also to develop future ones. It will help us also to strengthen the engagement with external stakeholders. As you may remember, the report has been shared by the co-chairs from the CGF Health and Wellness Pillar with Dr. Chan from the WHO. I think this is a great achievement to set actually a scene with stakeholders at the highest level. And I believe also that we can help ourselves to thrive, to move forward on the health and wellness agenda, because at the end of the game, we have to remember that we do that for the health of our consumers and for the public health. So at the end of the day, I think we also kind of do contribute to the larger pieces. A new element which I also feel quite excited about is that the board members have now taken as well up that we would like to see how the overall CGF activities contribute to the new Sustainable Development Goals. And as such, I think we have yet again a new target where we can see how the activities that the health and wellness pillar and other pillars of CGF have been defining actually shape the global agenda in the arena of sustainability and health and wellness.
Thank you, Petra. And just before I open the floor, I have another question that I've received for Harm-Jan. Harm-Jan, you mentioned some changes in Ahold, the way you see measurement and reporting, and it's a follow-on question on that. So how has measurement and reporting in health and wellness evolved since these efforts begun over 3 years ago?
Thank you, Sharon. And I think it's an interesting question, because what we saw is when we started the survey, it was really something that we were looking into data, and we were looking into the numbers and to the commitments with a lot of people in our company. And along the way, we were able to streamline the process much more and to get the request and the KPIs into our regular data and reporting processes. And one of the nicest things of that is that every quarter we report on this data, or at least on the data for our annual report, and which is not only coming to the people that report it or to their managers, but it's also coming to our the table of our executive committee at an Ahold level and also at division level. So really at the top of our company, people are looking into this data and they are asking questions about why does the number of healthy products increase, or why does it decrease, and what kind of programs are under it to promote this. So it really enabled us, or helps us, to get this topic at board level and to get a discussion there as well, which is
Thank you very much, Harm-Jan and Petra, for sharing your experiences. The phone lines are open if anyone on today's webinar would like to ask a question to Petra, to Harm-Jan, to Blake or Daniel at Deloitte. Just let us know. We're here to answer any of your questions. If you do think of something after the webinar, don't hesitate to send me an email. We're absolutely here to help and guide you along the process between now and the 30th of October. So the line is open. If anyone wants to ask a question, please say your name and let us know what company you're from, and we will see how best we can answer your question.
Engagement in order to better, how can I say that, to better have a sense of what's going on there in each company.
I don't believe that we have any questions, and Erica, I'm very sorry we couldn't manage to hear you on the webinar today, but hopefully we'll be able to maybe share your experiences on another webinar. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for your time today. Again, if you have any questions, on behalf of Harm-Jan, Petra, Blake, and Daniel from Deloitte, please do let us know. I also invite you to take a look at the Health and Wellness Toolkit, which is available and which is a great start to see how some of the companies are implementing the health and wellness commitments and resolutions. You can see it on Consumer Goods for Better Lives. We have almost 40 company stories on the Health and Wellness Toolkit. So if you're interested and you're thinking of how other CGF members are implementing their health and wellness goals, please visit that website. I hope it will inspire you. So thank you very, very much, everyone. And if you have any questions at all, please do contact myself, and I will pass them on to the Deloitte team, Petra and Harm-Jan. So thank you very much.